Hello everyone, I'm Dave Thomas, and today I am building the Cosmic Ray model rocket by Estes. This rocket just came onto the market in about August, maybe July of 2024. And as of this video, which is made in early September of 24, the only way you can get this is in an educational bulk pack. So you have to buy 12 of them at a time. So if you're not a teacher with a class, you could get you and 11 of your buddies, or you could just build them all yourself, however you want to do it. I suspect it's going to come out in individual packaging sometime soon. However you come across it, this is a really simple rocket, and it's made for new Rocketeers to build in a relatively short period of time. I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and we'll make sure we've got everything. So check your instructions. Make sure there's nothing hiding in here. Alright, so then our pieces. Okay, our main body tube here is pre-slotted for some of the parts. Alright, we've got a blue nose cone. And then we've got another parts package here that we'll quickly open up. And inside here we have the parachute, shock cord, okay, half of a fin can, the other half of the fin can, and this is also an integral motor mount. We have 3 fins, 2 of them are gold, 1 is blue. Okay, and then we've got some small parts here that we don't want to lose. So these 2 pieces are the shock cord anchor, and then this piece will screw onto the aft end of the rocket and will hold the motor in place. If you've ever built the Estes Starhopper, this is going to go together in a very similar way, even though the rocket looks much different. So I'm going to put everything aside here and we will get started. Now this model does not require glue to complete, although you can glue it together if you want it to be a bit more permanent, and I'll show you how to do it in both ways. Okay, so initially here we'll do it without the glue. So our first step is we're going to take the 2 sides of our fin can and match up the pegs with the little holes and just squeeze that together. All right, and you do have to squeeze fairly hard. Get all of those together there. Okay, and now the fins will fit into the slots there. And it doesn't matter which fin goes in which slot, they all go together. Okay, so we just mate the tabs here into the proper holes and just shove that forward. The aft end of the root edge of the fin here does have to clear the threads. Okay, once you've got that, add the retaining ring here, and this will just screw on. Now if you do end up gluing this, make sure the glue is good and dry before you put this ring on, or it'll end up permanently attached there. It doesn't have to go on quite that tight. Okay, going on to our next page. Okay, we're going to take the body tube, and the aft end of the body tube has the 2 rectangular notches here. And here we just shove this in. Now we do need to make sure, no, actually we don't. Okay, so either way this can go in. Don't have to align anything else. You may need to push those down just a little bit. All right, and have them pop up into those slots. The instructions say if you want, you can also include a piece of clear tape to wrap around this as additional holding power. I have noticed in some cases that if you get your nose cone on too tight and the ejection charge goes off, sometimes it'll separate here rather than blowing the nose cone off. And so having a little bit of tape here helps. You could use some, say, colored vinyl tape or even electrical tape if you want to have something that's a little more colorful there. Okay, back up at the other end. Okay, so we've got these two pieces here, and inside there, this piece is going to slide over this piece, and it's going to anchor it into the cardboard where that is. So I want you to see how this is going here, because inside the tube you won't be able to see it there. So that slides on like this. Okay, so I'll pop that back loose. Okay, so now I'm going to stick that in with the rounded side facing forward. And then, okay, now match the curvature of this to the inside of the tube. And I'm just going to, you can't see it now, but I'm pushing that back on. And you want to get it so it clicks into place. Alright, so here you should be able to just see it down there. Okay, now we're going to take our shock cord, and the first thing to do is tie a knot in the end of it here. And they suggested double knot, so just tie another knot right over the first one. Oh, that's okay. I'm going to tie one more knot in that. Okay, so now we're going to thread the other end without the knot into this little plastic piece we just made. And up into the body tube. Now this is kind of difficult. You may have to wiggle it around there a little bit. Alright, so you can see it sticking out down there. As soon as you can see it and grab it with your finger, go ahead and do that. If you have long, skinny fingers, that works even better. I have to add a little bit more to mine. There we go. Alright, go ahead and draw that through. Now be careful you don't just pull that knot straight through. Okay, it should end up right on the inside like that. Now here, regardless of whether or not you're gluing the rest of the rocket, I do recommend that you put just a little dab of white glue or wood glue in there. Don't use plastic cement. And that will just help hold the shock cord and that knot in place. You don't have to fill up the whole thing like I just did there. If you do, it's not a big deal. Okay, we'll just wipe off the excess. Let me use a little tissue here. Okay, now look down inside. If you have glue coming out in the inside there, go ahead and wipe that away, as we don't want glue in there. Next, we're going to attach the parachute. And for those of you who have seen my other videos, you probably know it's coming. I don't like to tie parachutes directly to the nose cone like the instructions show. Okay, now I will do it, just to show you here. So the first thing to do is go ahead and open up the whole parachute, spread it out, and find all the shroud line loops here. So there should be one going across the middle and one on each side. Take those loops together and just hook them on your finger, like that. And then you're going to grab the sheet of the parachute in the middle and then pull those shroud lines tight. And if everything is the way it should be, all the corners should be about on the same level the way they are now. Now if they're not, you can kind of wiggle the shroud lines back and forth until you get as close as you can. Alright, and now I'm going to hold on to the shroud lines so they don't move relative to each other. Alright, to do it like they show here in the instructions, pass the loop of shroud lines through the nose cone, and then you can either do one of these two. You can either pass the entire chute through like this and pull it tight, or you can take the nose cone, pass it through and pull it tight. Okay, so it's going to come down like this. Now I'm not going to go all the way because I do prefer the other method. Alright, but if you pull this tight, all the shrouds will end up tight on there. Okay, now I'm going to take this back off. Okay, now I prefer to use a snap swivel, like this one here. This does not come with the kit. If you want one of these, go to wherever you buy fishing supplies. You can get them there. The size doesn't really matter a whole lot as long as the snap part here that actually hooks things on can fit over the loop in the nose cone here. So different nose cones have different attachment loops there. But as long as it fits, it's fine. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and recheck my shroud line length. Okay, I'm going to hold those together again, and I'm going to pinch this down so I've got a really tiny loop, and that's going to go through the other end, the swivel end here, not the snap end, but the little round end here. Okay, so I'm going to push that through. Reopen the loops, and I'm always holding it back here so the lines don't change length. Alright, now I'm going to push the snap swivel, the whole thing, through the loop. Bring that back down. So you can see it here, and I'm just going to pull it tight. Alright, I'm going to recheck my shroud line length. Looks like one of them moved a little, but not appreciably so. If you do want to re-straighten them, you just got to loosen this knot and try again. And here once more I recommend just a little teeny dab of white glue or wood glue on there. It doesn't take much. It does take a little more than that. Alright, just enough to lock down the threads there so it doesn't come loose later on. And now, anytime you're ready to fly, you can just clip that in. Alright, and at least theoretically this should help keep the lines from tangling as much, because the swivel allows the release of torsion in the lines here. Alright, it also means if you need to change your chute, or maybe it's a really windy day and you want to put a streamer on instead of the parachute, you just pop one off and put the other one back on. Okay, now regardless, I'm going to leave that off for the moment. If you tied it on, that's fine. Alright, the other thing we need to do is tie this end of the shock cord onto the nose cone loop as well. Here just use a double knot or 2 half hitches. Alright, get that good and snug on there as we don't want it to come off later. And now if you have more than about 5 centimeters or 1/4 of an inch or so here, go ahead and cut that off, but don't do it all the way back to the knot. What we don't want to have is this being long enough that it gets caught between the nose cone shoulder here and the inside of the body tube. That can prevent proper ejection. Alright, like I did before, I'm going to go ahead and put a little glue here. Okay, again, you don't need a lot, just a little bit on that knot to help keep it from unraveling. You can work it in with your finger. Okay, now I would let that dry before you put everything together. Okay, and now here I'm going to go ahead and reattach my parachute. Again, if you did it the way the instructions show, your parachute should already be attached at this point. Okay, and that's the completed model rocket there. Now I'm going to go ahead and let this dry for a few minutes, and then we'll come back and put it all together and prep it for launch. The glue for the shock cord and on the parachute should be dry here, and I want to talk about some options. So first of all, this is meant to be decorated, probably using brush-on paint or permanent markers or something like that. So you can color this, you can add decals, things like that. It does not come with any type of decorations in the package. So This you can just use whatever you got. If you do want to paint the body tube, I recommend doing it before you put the rocket together. So just take the body tube by itself, apply whatever paint you want, and then come back. Now, if you want to glue this together, I'm not going to take the whole thing apart, but I'll show you a few things you can do. So if you go back to the start, what you can do is, instead of just pressing the fin can together, you can put a little dab of plastic model cement on each of those little pegs and then squish it together. For the fins, you can do a couple of things. Okay, so you can use a tube type plastic cement like this, and I would just put a little bit on the sides of those projections there, not necessarily on the whole thing. Alright, and then you can put that in here once more and slide that up. Now you want to do that quickly because the glue is going to start melting the plastic of the fins, and sometimes it'll grab before you can get it all the way up there. Which is why they really don't, this is meant to be not a glued rocket, because it's just less frustrating for first-time Rocketeers that way. The other way you can do this is to leave the fin in place and use a brush-on type cement like this. Okay, so this is much runnier than the tube cement, but what we can do is just kind of paint this onto the seam between the fin can and the fin and let capillary action draw the glue in. Now you will have a little bit of excess glue on the sides there. Once that dries, you'll hardly notice it. Okay, so that's the other way you can do this. On that third fin, I'm going to go ahead and glue mine. Okay, you can also use the brush-on glue if you want to do it this way. It's pretty much the same as using the tube glue, so you're going to brush some on here. And then you can also do the whole root edge down here. I don't recommend using the tube cement for this, because it does tend to be a bit messier and stickier. Alright, but now this can go on like that. Put it up there. And again, you want to be really quick about moving it. Now I did just make a fingerprint mark there. I don't want that. Okay. So that's how you glue it. Make sure before you put the engine retainer back on that this glue is completely dry. Another spot that you can use glue if you want is the joint of the body tube to the fin can. All right, and if you press those little tabs in, you can release that. Now for this, I recommend using either a tube type plastic cement or a gel type super glue or crazy glue, cyanoacrylate glue. And in this case, what you're going to do is put a bead of this glue right on the inside of the tube here, of about moderate consistency. So you want to make sure it's continuous. You don't want it dripping, but you do want a good bead all the way around there. All right, and again, you can use the tube type plastic cement too, but I found the gel type super glue is really good when you're bonding two dissimilar surfaces like cardboard to plastic. Now we're just going to put this right back in where we had it. All right, make sure those tabs come out. Now don't grab the tabs because you'll stick to them. If you really want to, you can also glue the mount here on. That's really less of a concern though. That usually stays in place pretty well. I'm going to let this dry once more, and then we'll come back and put the whole thing together. All of my glue is dry, and so we're ready to pack this up and get it ready for launch. So the first thing we'll need to do is move all this stuff out of the way and install some recovery wadding. If you're using the Estes recovery wadding, you'll need about 3 sheets of it. And for each sheet, just kind of loosely crumple it like this. and then stuff it down into the body tube. Take another sheet. All right, so don't take 3 sheets all at once and crumple them. Do them one at a time. Put that down there. All right, and then one more sheet. And what this is doing is making kind of a loose piston that when the ejection charge goes off, those hot ejection gases are going to push the recovery wadding upward, increase the pressure inside the tube, blow the nose cone off, and release the parachute if everything goes right. All right, now you can take 10 Rocketeers and get 10 different versions on how to fold a parachute. All right, so the way I like to do it is fold this into a triangle of about that size. All right, take the shroud lines about halfway up and just loop those up into the triangle and just hold them there. And then take the sides of the triangle, fold those over the shroud lines, and then take the tip of the triangle and fold it upward. And I'm going to take the sides and kind of roll those and fold those so we've got like a long cylinder here. All right, now go ahead and put the shock cord in and just stuff it down there. I don't recommend winding it around your finger and then stuffing the coil down. It'll get knotted. It's actually easier just to stuff this in a little bit at a time. All right, when we get close to the end here, we'll stick the parachute down, and this should slide in easily. If it's getting hung up on something, pull it back out, find out what's doing the problem there, and try again. Okay, now slide the nose cone in, making sure you're not getting the snap swivel or shroud lines or the shock cord caught in between here and the body tube. Okay, so once you've got that in, turn it upside down and give it a good shake. All right, if that nose cone is staying in place, then that's great. If it's a little bit loose, you can take some masking tape, put it on the shoulder. Now mine isn't that loose, but we'll go ahead and do it here. And you don't even need a whole circumference. Start with about 1/3 to 1/2. And you can apply that here. Okay, and then slide it in. And you should have a little more friction. And for mine, it's still okay. All right, now it should be loose enough that you can pull this out without having a major effort. Okay, so once that's in place, next you'll put a motor in there. I don't have any motors with me, so I won't do this part for real. All right, and then just screw that on snugly, but not so tight that you break the rocket. And then right before you're ready to launch, install an igniter and take it to the launch pad. So there's my completed Cosmic Ray sans decorations. This actually goes together in a total of about 30 minutes. So the video kind of shows things, back and forth. But you can do this with a small group of people in less than an hour, easily. With that, have a great launch and a safe recovery, and please stay tuned for more of my videos.